Thank you, Pavel. So hey guys, as Pavel said, my name's Dan Rocha. I'm the Managing Director at Toxic Games, and it's great to be here in Slovakia, in Čilina. Thanks for Pavel for the invitation. My first time over here, so really excited. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about pumping the production pipeline and how great production can really make your game or animation take to the next level. Because when we started Q.U.B.E, things were a bit ropey, but we brought a producer on board, and that really changed how things worked. So, a quick background on myself. I started off making games in the industry about 6 or 7 years ago. Q.U.B.E was a first-person puzzle game. It came out in 2012, but production on that game started in university in 2009, 2010. It was me and 2 other guys. We made a short 10-minute demo over the course of the year. And then we decided to go indie. Back then, we didn't really know what indie was. And a few of our lecturers and other developers said, you know, you guys got potential here. You should do something with it. So we took it to a few events, pitched it around, and then we heard of something called Indie Fund, which is a collective of game industry veterans who came together to make a fund for new and up-and-coming developers. So we thought, okay, let's give it a shot. We're probably not going to get in because we're graduates with little experience. But actually, we submitted the game, and out of 200 applicants, we were selected among 2 other developers. So that was great. We got to spend a year making the game full-time. Very exciting. Traveled to different events around the world to promote it. And we launched the game on Steam in early 2012. The game was able to pay back that investment, and then we rolled that investment into funding new projects. I actually started a second studio with another guy called Henry Hoffman, and we produced several new games. Those games included a casual platformer called Watermelon, an educational game called Waterworks, Q.U.B.E Director's Cut for consoles, and then we made another game called Hue, which is a 2D puzzle platformer where you sort of shift the color of the world. And there's a screenshot of it there. You might have seen it. So Q.U.B.E kind of began in our spare time. It was sort of the puzzle designer of Q.U.B.E. He started tinkering with Unreal Engine 4. And Q.U.B.E was actually made in Unreal Engine 3. So we were playing around with the beta. Naturally, he put in the Q.U.B.E assets to kind of see what it would look like in UE4. And then lo and behold, he just kept adding new content to it, new mechanics. And by the time you know it, we had about 5 hours of content, which was pretty crazy over the course of about 2 years. But I was still, doing post-production stuff on Hue, getting that out there, promoting it, and that kind of thing. So it was very hard to juggle both projects. It was very hard to get Q.U.B.E up and running. Yeah, so it was almost 2 years of development on Q.U.B.E, just Dave by himself, creating all these mechanics, new puzzle ideas, and so forth. And there was lots of content being produced, very slow progress. But naturally, I thought, okay, well, we've got lots of content here. We've got, a solid foundation for a game. Why don't we, actually turn this into a full thing instead of just a prototype? And with all the feedback we gathered from Q.U.B.E and all the things we wanted to do correctly, fix all the bugs, all the issues with the game, we thought, let's do it. Let's jump both feet in. So we pitched the game around to lots of different investors, publishers. By that point, we'd really run out of money from the first game. And that process took a while, almost a year before we actually got some funding through. And then full production came along, and we were actually quite unprepared. We thought we might have been prepared, but we weren't really. Again, I was still doing multiple things. It was quite intense to get this project really off the ground. Not enough prep beforehand. And then we actually ended up having 3 different concept artists, 1 level designer, 1 puzzle designer, and no one really knew what everyone was doing. It was all over the place. And then, I thought we need to do something about this. So it was Gamescom last year. We finished showing the game to the press, very early stages. And I had a chat with our writer, Ben, just saying, how was the project going from your perspective? And he kind of voiced his concerns, saying, his writing work was much further ahead than everyone else. And they were just sort of struggling, and he wasn't sure where the project was going. And I said, I'm doing sort of lots of things here. doing the biz dev, the production, project management, going to the events, promoting the game, that sort of thing, where you can't really do one thing effectively because you're kind of trying to do all those different things. So Ben said to me, he used to do production on his previous game, Ether 1, with his other studio, and he said, well, why don't I come on board? Why don't we do this thing, really take it to the next level? And I said, that's a great idea, let's go for that. So I brought him on board, and it was probably the best decision I made on that project early on. So the first thing Ben did, this is the team here, we cut down the team to very core members. We sort of got rid of 2 of the concept artists. Everyone was a contractor, so their work was completed, and we made the final concept artist guy an art director. And then we focused everyone. We brought on a 3D artist who could, do all that, all the 3D work, but also level design. So we didn't need the level designer anymore. And then the puzzle designer would kind of collaborate with those guys, and it just worked really well, very cohesive. This is us at EGX Res a couple of months ago, showing the game. So the value of that was incredible. The productivity it's kind of skyrocketed, went from 0 to 60 in 6 months. So the amount of work that was done in the first 2 years, was about 5 hours of content. But the quality of that work, we had some good puzzles, but some mediocre ones, and it was very hard to see where the game was going. But once we got everyone on board, once everyone knew exactly what they were doing, you could see directly, the quality of work. So here's a screenshot on the left of what it looked like before it went into full production with the new team, and on the right is all the new art and assets and everything in. I don't know if you can see that so well. Yep. So this is me wearing many hats, talking about if you're a small team and you've got many things to do in the team. So you've got to think about design, code, art, business, marketing, that kind of thing, traveling to events, promoting the game. There's lots going on, so production can easily take a back seat. You might make a budget or schedule at the start, and then that gets shelved, and you never look at it till like halfway through the project, and no one knows if you're on track or not. That definitely happened to us a lot of times. So we decided to, bring the producer on, and with that in mind, we can go into more detail about what that can bring to the table and the responsibilities and how that can affect the project. Here's a photo of Ben looking into the distance. So one of the key things is overseeing creative and technical development, ensuring the team is on track, getting rid of bottlenecks, being that sort of the go-to guy or girl when people are having problems, ensuring the project deliverables are delivered on time, making sure we hit deadlines, milestones for internal purposes, but also if we have a publisher on board or an investor on board, they want to know we can do what we say we're going to do. Pitching the game concepts to publishers, creating the pitch document, making everything make sense, jargon-free, being able to communicate that clearly to a publisher or an investor. And then communication between development staff and stakeholders, being able to talk at a low-level way to the coder and then communicating that clearly and effectively to the investors and everyone else on the project. Maintaining the budget and schedule, ensuring everyone knows where the cents are being spent, making sure there's no slippages in that, and everyone's on schedule, which is very, very challenging at times because game development can get pretty crazy. Task management, making sure everyone knows what's going on there, and then scheduling QA, localization, and certification. If you're bringing the game to Xbox One or PS4, there's lots of work involved with that, lots of issues, lots of bugs that can come your way. So it's all about ensuring that you can power through that process, and there's contingency built into that. And the multifaceted production, address the multifaceted nature of the game you're making, understand the different disciplines involved, the art team, the sound designers, making sure everyone knows what each person, each team is doing, break it down into the core areas to understand this better, and scope the scale of the project and create an effective and budget for this. When we started out, especially on Q.U.B.E, we had none of this, and it was just all over the place. Sort of make it up as you go along. And understand the talent that is needed to complete the project. You might not get a whole orchestra for a small mobile game, but it's all about understanding the needs for that project. And then communicate effectively between all areas. Make sure everyone knows what is going on. Now we're going to get a bit more into the nitty-gritty about detail. Define the scope of the project, understand high-level deliverables, understand the team requirements, because this all has an impact on the schedule and budget and team. So we actually have weekly calls and milestone tracking. So on a Monday morning, we'll go through the whole schedule with the team. Everyone will report what they did last month and last week and what they're coming to do for the coming week, and understanding that. So that way everyone in each team and each discipline can know what is going on. And then learn how late stage dev works, plan for QA and certification. And then budget and cash flow. I know budgets and cash flow can sound like two boring things, but really once you get them down to a T, everything else will just flow, and it's pretty good. So create a realistic cash flow before your budget. Work out what things will actually cost you. Use your work breakdown schedule to cost your needs, which is important. Then use your cash flow to work out your budget. Make sure to add contingency and post-launch costs, because after the game launches, there's going to be bugs and patches and things you need to update, so it's important to get those right and have cash flow to do that. And then task management and delegation. I think delegation is a key thing. Once your team grows a bit more, it's good to understand who to give responsibility. And there are things as a small developer that you want to control, but at the end of the day, if you want things to be done effectively and on schedule, then it's important to learn how to delegate those tasks out. So yeah, and using different methodologies such as Scrum, Kanban, Waterfall, understanding those, and use the right software for the methodology. We use Hack and Plan, which is kind of like Trello, but specifically for game development. It's currently in beta, so there's a bunch of issues with it, but we find it works quite well for us. And then try not to control too much and maintain that quality, delegate responsibility. We kind of foster a creative culture. Individuals are responsible for their creativity and should have an air of freedom over it. So for example, we'll give our art director lots of creative freedom. We'll kind of go to him with a basic idea and basic references and that kind of thing, and he'll go away and just come out with cool ideas and present that to us, and then we'll work from there with different feedback, and that works really well. And it's the same with our sound designer and music composer. They'll kind of go away and produce that. And the communication is integral, we find, definitely, because lots of issues can come if others don't know what you're doing at that point in time. We've had many bottlenecks in the past, which I'll talk about in a bit, on the development of Q.U.B.E. But yeah, we currently use a mixture of Skype and Slack, but we're also playing with Discord, and that's very good for sharing images and that kind of thing, and very easy to find. We'll have weekly team and production meetings, so on a Friday afternoon we'll have meetings with the investors and the publishers, and then online communication is integral. And take meeting minutes. Take notes of the calls that you have, because it's quite easy to forget those things. Make sure everyone has good communication in terms of pitching skills. Like if you have an idea that you want to see in the game, be able to pitch that to the rest of the team. That could be illustrative, or that could also be on Skype or a video call. And then be transparent with the team. If there are funding issues, explain that to the team so they can prepare. If there are other issues with the game, make sure that everyone is on board and knows what's going on. And just have fun with it, really. So now we're going to talk a bit about Q.U.B.E. and the pitfalls we had there. So really we had lack of experience. We didn't know anything about business or production or any of this stuff. We were just making games for the love of making games. And that kind of shone through. We thought we could make the game in 6 months, but really that was impossible, because there's so much to do on the title. It ended up taking at least double that time. And then the bad communication. So one issue we had on this game was our puzzle designer, Dave. He started working on a level that the sound designer was already working on. We were paying this guy, and all that work was completed, and then Dave overrided the work that was completed, and then he uploaded that, and we lost all that work, all that resource, all that time was gone. So we had to redo that work, which was absolutely intense. So lots of these issues kept occurring. And then with the team, there were 3 directors. So we all had our different ideas, all pulling in different directions. Sometimes we would agree, sometimes we wouldn't. And it was just all over the place. And then laid back development, we were kind of making up as we go along. So we had the schedule, but we kind of put it in the shelved it, and then we kept looking at it every now and then. Oh, that thing isn't done. We'll just move that back, push it back. And then the project kept getting delayed and delayed. But we were able to turn it around with really intensive production later on. So yeah, it can be production can be undervalued, but when you really look into it, it can produce amazing results. So I've talked about Q.U.B.E, and you can see in this top image here, this is how it looked like before, and now this is on the right how it looks like now, much more cinematic, and you can see that in the game itself. So in 6 months, we were able to turn that around and create some great things. The bottom right is actually Mark's game, who's sitting over there. He's going to be talking after me. We're actually helping him out on the production of his game because he started out as a one-man band. He was going to events, kind of trying to do everything, raise investment and make the game itself, and it's very hard. So we came on board, really whipped the project into shape, and now things are going like 100 miles an hour, essentially. So this is the new art for the game. And then on the left, to push it even further, this is the latest thing we work on. It's called Thorn. And it's sort of a first-person game that we're kind of working on with Humble Bundle, like a Humble Originals program. And we're building this game over, well, the prototype or vertical slice of this game over the 6 to 8 weeks. And we had everything down to a T for the pre-production, knew exactly what we wanted to create, and we just ran with it as soon as production began. And the amount of work content that was created in that short amount of time was quite incredible, just because everything was super organized, which is a breath of fresh air compared to previous projects that we've done in the past. So lots going on there. But yeah, I like to compare game development, I guess, much more to architecture than making a movie or writing a book, because you have the design and then construction coming hand in hand, the harmony of that. And without one, you can't have the other. Without good design, the building will look rubbish or it just won't function. But without construction, the building will fall apart or it won't pass the safety test. So with games, if you have that hand in hand, I think you have a great game by the end. But without good production, things can fall by the wayside, or the game can end up taking years upon years, which we've had in the past. Even Q.U.B.E, it's come up to 3 years, I think, on this game, but the majority of that was pre-production and just prototyping and like kind of messing around, experimenting, which can be cool, but it can take a while. So yeah, there's the real value of good production, because that means you can save on resource, you can save on time and money at the end of the day and produce a quality project. Now Q.U.B.E is actually over there behind those curtains. You can go and play it, see for yourself. It's actually an older build, because the latest content we're kind of keeping under wraps until we can announce the game officially later on next month or the month after. And yeah, that's basically what it's shaping up to be. But yeah, that's really the talk, all about production and what you can do and apply that to your practices and the value of that. And this is one of the scenes in Q.U.B.E at the moment. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, send me an email with any questions. And I think we're opening the floor up for any questions right now. If anyone has any questions. No? Okay. Well, yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And by all means, come and play the game and check it out. Cheers.